I'll always remember my first conspiracy theory. It was the day JFK Jr. died. There were tears streaming down my mother's face. She'd been 8 years old when his father, President Kennedy, was assassinated in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas, on November 22nd, 1963. Seeing JFK's only son and namesake meet an untimely fate brought back all of that pain. It was like losing him all over again. It reminded her that since John Kennedy died, the country never seemed to be the same. I was desperate to find some way to take away her pain. So I told her that I believed all of the Kennedys, Jack, Bobby, Joe, and now Jack Jr., were all alive on an island together, growing old and happy. And as crazy as this theory sounded, it somehow managed to make her feel better, and I saw the pain fade from her eyes. My mother, like us all, is an orphan of Camelot, searching for that island of lost Kennedys, seeking a reason for JFK's murder that will finally allow us to put him to rest.
I saw John Kennedy today. He ain't dead like they say. He's driving a pickup truck, and he sure looks happy now. He was out on old Route 6. We were both stuck in traffic. He was wearing his vintage shades, but he sure didn't look his age. I yelled, "Hey, is there an accident? And weren't you the president?" He just sat there for a while, and then he flashed his Kennedy smile.
When President Kennedy was assassinated here in Dallas, Abraham Zapruder was standing on this concrete parapet with an 8mm camera.
As the motorcade passed in front of him, he got what is frame for frame the most valuable historical document of all time.
We're living in the age of Zapruder.
And I saw his head practically open up, all blood and everything, and I kept on shooting.
Where one man with a camera can change the world as dramatically as a man with a rifle.
Now the story that might never have surfaced if someone hadn't picked up his home video camera.
Where tragedy is televised, and yet we cannot believe what we see with our own eyes. Everyone always says we lost our national innocence the day JFK died. But maybe, just maybe, that was simply the day we realized we weren't so innocent after all. The assassination of JFK is the birth of the conspiracy theory as we know it. These days, whenever tragedy strikes, conspiracy theories seem to crop up before the bodies have even gone cold. But strange as it may sound, in 1963, people actually trusted their government and the mainstream media. But when the Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 bullets from the Texas School Book Depository, killing President Kennedy without any accomplices, no one seemed to believe it. To this day, polls indicate that most Americans think that someone else was involved. People often ask me who I think killed John Kennedy. I imagine this is what it must be like when a son asks his father if there is a God. Who is one man to answer that question? In both cases, everyone seems to have an answer.
Behold the atheist's nightmare. Now, if you study a well-made banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 ridges. On the close side, 2 ridges.
So how is it possible for Oswald to have fired from 2 angles at once? It doesn't make sense.
If you get your hand ready to grip a banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 grooves, on the close side 2 grooves. The banana and the hand are perfectly made one for the other.
He was not marksman enough to hit a moving target at that range. But if there was a second assassin,
you'll find the maker of the banana, Almighty God, has made it with a non-slip surface.
But no one seems to have much proof. Some people have difficulty believing that a government can conspire to conceal the truth from its citizens. We know all too well that this is possible.
5 people have been arrested and charged with breaking into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee.
The money from the controversial Iran arms deal was secretly funneled to the Contra rebels.
Others have difficulty believing that one man with a gun can change the course of history. Again, we know all too well how easily this can transpire. Whatever you believe, the story of Lee Oswald is a sad one indeed. It's either the story of a man so hapless he was framed for the crime of the century, or it's the story of a man so hapless that when he finally managed to do something, no one believed he could have done it alone. If he did, why would he deny it? All the other presidential assassins proudly admitted to their crimes. Why wouldn't Oswald? Quite simply, he's the only one who could. Every other assassination has been at close range with hundreds of witnesses. There was no way for any of them to deny it. JFK was the only president assassinated with a long-range rifle. The closest witness to identify Oswald was Howard Brennan, and he was across the street without his glasses, 6 floors under the alleged sniper's nest. And at first, Brennan refused to identify Oswald in a police lineup. He later admitted he could have, but didn't, because he was afraid. Afraid of what? A conspiracy, of course. The truth is that whether or not there was a conspiracy, everyone seemed to think there was, or at least acted like it. The man who conducted the autopsy on Kennedy destroyed his notes. The FBI destroyed a note that Oswald had left them before the assassination. And to this day, no one knows what happened to Kennedy's brain. Even Lyndon Johnson, the man who commissioned the Warren Commission, told Walter Cronkite he had his doubts about its conclusions that Oswald acted alone.
I've never been completely relieved of the fact that there might have been international connections.
In the end, Johnson and everyone else cast aside their doubts to avoid national hysteria, and possibly even war. In other words, even if there was no conspiracy to kill Kennedy, there was a conspiracy to cover up the circumstances of his death, which means there may have been a conspiracy to cover up nothing. All of the bizarre behavior and bits of circumstantial evidence that point to a conspiracy, despite any concrete evidence of one, may have been a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Mafia, the CIA, the FBI, the Johnson and Nixon administrations, everyone who has ever been accused of assassinating the president, seem to think that one of the other groups was behind it and has done their best to cover it up for fear of reprisals from whomever was behind the coup. This, of course, has made everyone look guilty and made it impossible to figure out if anyone was. In other words, America was so convinced that there was a conspiracy to kill President Kennedy that we created one. In actuality, the FBI destroyed the note to avoid embarrassment, not conceal a conspiracy. It said that Bobby Kennedy buried the brain with his brother to prevent it from becoming a freak show attraction. And the autopsy notes? Well, there was a conspiracy by the Kennedy family themselves. They wanted to cover up the fact that JFK had gonorrhea.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Back and to the left.
Back and
back
to the left.
To the left. Say that again. Back and to the left.
Back and to his left.
Back.
Shot from the front and right. Totally inconsistent with a shot from the depository.
That action you see Kennedy's head do in the Zapruder film?
Again, the violent backward motion.
Caused by a bullet coming from up there.
The head is thrown violently backwards, completely consistent with a shot from the front.
Even the infamous back and to the left head motion isn't as damning as it seems. Turns out that the jet stream from an exit wound propels a target right back to where the bullet came from. In this case, back and to the left. But let's face it, the jet effect is not nearly as exciting as a cover-up to conceal a massive conspiracy. Every simple explanation or undeniable piece of evidence takes us further and further away from the elusive island of Lost Kennedys, where an elderly JFK is having a drink with Marilyn Monroe and James Dean. Every reminder that perhaps Occam's razor is correct and the simplest answer may be true makes us realize that the world is a terrifying and chaotic place where the only conspiracy is between entropy and chance. But then again, you never know. After all, who was one man to answer the questions that plague us through the ages? 50 years after the fact, the debate over who killed Kennedy rages on with a religious fervor.
We don't know for certain, and you don't know for certain.
No, I'm asking you the question. I don't know the answer, because it involves the belief in it. No, I want you to answer the question.
Chris, do you want me to leave now? Are you through with me?
No, Vincent, we had a technical problem. You're back, Vincent. Don't get mad at me. I'm going to ask you now. Isn't that
both sides think they're the rational scientists, and the other guys are the crazed zealots. So who to trust? To unravel the secrets of the Kennedy assassination, one must delve into the hidden history of our country, the world of espionage. And the first rule of espionage: trust no one. Don't let any one documentary, TV special, or YouTube video convince you who killed Kennedy. Read the first-hand testimony. Analyze the evidence. Listen to both sides of the debate. Decide for yourself. But always keep in mind, if there really was a conspiracy well executed enough to kill the President of the United States, do you think they would have left any evidence for someone like us to find? Do you think they would have left anyone alive to tell the story? After all, wouldn't someone have come forward for a book deal? In the end, it doesn't really matter who pulled the trigger. Those who benefited, benefited, even if they didn't orchestrate it. Those who suffered, suffered. Most importantly, the point was made to all presidents who have come since. Do not be brave. Do not stand up for what is right. If you do, you'll be gunned down like a common thug. The Kennedy assassination is no longer a murder mystery. It's a coming-of-age story.
Hit the president in the side of the temple.
The story of how America outgrew Camelot. How we stopped being the generation who asks not, who looks at the world and asks why not. America does not need to solve the Kennedy assassination. We need to solve the problems it caused. The fear.
If they develop weapons of mass destruction that will be used to terrorize nations.
The distrust.
Nobody is listening to your telephone calls.
And the violence. People often ask me who I think killed Kennedy. I don't know, I tell them. But it's a damn shame.
He said, son, it occurred to me way back in '63. I no longer had to be a President Kennedy. And I didn't need Jackie O. I didn't need Marilyn Monroe. All I needed to get by was a truck and a highway ride. Well, in Dallas, it was my luck. I snuck out to buy this old truck. My double caught a bullet in the head, and I was free because I was dead. I've been driving along ever since. Food and gas are my only expense. Wherever the road takes me, you know the girls are always friendly. I saw John Kennedy today. He waved as he pulled away. He's driving a pickup truck, and he sure